We live in a fast-paced and hectic world where it's easy to feel overwhelmed, stressed, and out of control. How do you manage all the competing pressures without losing sense of yourself? How do you stay focused enough to not only plot a path, but follow it? Welcome to Master Your Life, a show that offers inspiration, insight, and intelligence, as well as success stories from many walks of life that can show you how you can control your own destiny. Our knowledgeable and entertaining host and her guests give practical advice that you can use every day in the quest to master your life. Now, here's your host, Leaha Mattinson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's show. I'm host Leaha Mattinson, and I'm so happy that each and every one of you has joined us from wherever it is that you are on this beautiful planet. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Take a moment to give yourselves a pat on the back for entering this space of awesome, where you are going to find a way to love yourself even more than you did before you tuned into this show by tapping into the wisdom that lives within yourself. So thank you again for being here. I'm joined for this episode by my beautiful guest, Erika Ramelli. Erika, welcome to the show today.
Hello, sweet sister, cosmic sister.
Yes.
I am so excited for our topic today, and especially to be playing with you in this field.
Yes, it's a very fun time. Now, for those of you who have not been introduced to Erika yet or her work, she is a beautiful woman who specializes in rebalancing energy using bioresonance and plants. So that is a fun fact about Erika. Now, what we're talking about today, though, specifically is how to turn your sexuality into sparkling energy throughout the seasons.
Woo, woo. Oh, yes.
Sparkle. Exactly. So for all of you who went, wow, what are they going to talk about today? All of a sudden, it just got amped up about 30,000 degrees, didn't it? Like,
oh, yes.
That's so good. So to start off, though, I thought it would be interesting just to look up and see what in the world when you look up sexuality, what it actually says on the internet these days. And wow, very confusing. Very
really?
Oh yeah, sexuality definition. And what used to be pretty straightforward has now turned into all this other very subversive, I think, things. So what we really want to do is focus in on the body and our erotic or sensual nature and how that connects with other people. But starting out with the body and not kind of going down the rabbit hole of lots of other things. So that's why
I love it. Do you have a way of maybe reading what that means? I don't know. What does the internet say about sexuality? I'm kind of curious, though.
Oh my goodness. Well, if you just type in sexuality, because I then had to clean it up because I went, oh, that's really very far off in the weeds. So sexuality meaning capacity for sexual feelings. She began to understand the power of her sexuality. And notice how it doesn't refer to a man. Then the next one, a person's identity in relation to the gender or genders to which they are typically attracted, sexual orientation. That's interesting. And then the third definition was sexual activity. Sexuality within holy matrimony was only justified as a necessary part of reproduction, quote unquote. So
this is so bizarre. No one actually talks about the sacredness and the power of creation and the energy. That is interesting.
Here's Wikipedia. Human sexuality is the way people experience and express themselves sexually. This involves biological, erotic, physical, emotional, social, or spiritual feelings and behaviors. That's an interesting. I just went, wow, there's lots of interesting things, but it doesn't really focus on that sacred aspect. So again, why I'm so happy to have you here, Erika, because what we both think is that it's quite sacred and that it starts with the body. So yes, let's just dive right in. How do we turn, first of all, our sexuality into sparkling energy throughout the season?
Do you want to take it first?
No, I think you should.
Okay.
Go, girl. You go. You go.
Well, first of all, I am absolutely in love with the sexual energy. Let's just say that. Like, I cannot talk enough about the power it has to make your body physically look absolutely glorious and glowy, and to make you feel glorious and glowy. If you really tap into that beautiful force, it is the energy of creation of everything. It is your sacral chakra, which is really the second chakra. And that is the energy of all creation. And I'm not saying just the sexual energy of making a baby, right? Or the body parts, but also anything you want to create. It could be a business plan, it could be a vision, it could be a recipe. Just manifestation itself lays dormant in that Kundalini spot. So I want to say that the energy of sexuality is the energy of creation. And therefore, if at some point in time you've had some difficulties with that energy, I would love to maybe start our show by guiding those individuals into loving their body, loving themselves, and healing those potential traumas, because they are maybe missing out on an incredible healing force due to maybe an unpleasant experience. Yes. So we today should reclaim that loving force.
Absolutely. Beautifully put. I agree 1000%. And the living gnosis of this, the living knowing, is when you practice have good sacred sexual practices, your life is more creative, you have more energy, you have more joy, and you can see this in young people because they're kind of unfettered. I think, they're more gloriously creating things. But when you're, depending on sometimes your age and what era you grew up in, your ideas about sexuality or belief could be, it's sinful and disgusting, and don't touch that and don't look at that. Or it can be sacred, and those are different things. So part of the learning, self-learning, is going, what are my actual underlying beliefs about sexuality and sex? And writing that down and going, does that actually serve me? Do I notice when I get closed up? Or is this something that I need to open up and figure out more expansively how to start loving myself? With client work, Erika, I've worked with lots of clients who've had dysfunctions in their own sexual energy, and through sexual abuse or being raised in certain environments, and not knowing how to heal through talk therapy, for example, that it's often sexuality is an embodied experience. So it happens in the body. So to try to figure it out by talking sometimes doesn't translate very well. And so the being able to be in your body and do practices for this physical being that we have is the path to freedom. And that starts with loving yourself, which we talk about every episode, is know yourself, love yourself. Right? Every episode.
But it's the foundation of it all. And I think that that's where a lot of our society has gone off road, because we have lost touch with oneself, with the emotions, with boundaries, with sense of expectations, pleasure, pain, and all those limitations that we might have. We don't even know where they are. And I want to add something to what you said earlier, right? You said age, and some individuals who are raised maybe in a very sinful space towards sexuality, some other ones more in the sacred, but there's another space, which is the commodity space.
Yes, so
that,
much.
That sexuality is just a tool, like a microwave, that you use for a purpose, and that's it. Like it's body parts that are there for a reason. They have a purpose, and they're used as a tool to deliver pleasure or to deliver life, but it's viewed as a mechanical thing. And I think that a lot of our younger generations are also quite free in that aspect of viewing it as a tool. Like, oh, I do this thing, delivers pleasure, move on. So I do want to add today that there's a beautiful way of weaving all of these pieces, because they are all of that. And so how do you weave the masterful force of creation into something that is treated with utmost respect and reverence. And that is also a source of pleasure. And that is also a source of healing. So, I mean, one of the most incredible painkillers in the world is one, oxytocin, but also all of the hormones that are released through an orgasm actually are really packed with anti-inflammatory properties. So having an orgasm, if you're having pain in your body right now for other reasons, actually loving yourself or being in a partnership that could help you deliver a beautiful orgasm will act as a painkiller. Boom. How amazing is that?
Yes. And that's true and practical. 4,000 years of Chinese medicine can't be wrong. When people go, oh, come on. It is in Chinese medicine. The Chinese doctor would pay the family back money if the family members became sick. So it's this oftentimes prescribed prescriptions for illness included sexual practices, husbands and wives actually doing sexual practices to overcome illness. So they go to the doctor, they're presenting with symptoms of some kind, and the doctor writes out a little prescription for some plant medicine, some herbs, and some sexual positions that are going to release the headache and the tension and the frustration and whatever else it was. So this has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And I love that you talk about this, making it a commodity, and how that can actually damage people when it's been either made a commodity or it's made pornography. And those two things are different also. So this talking about it as a sacred space and just how powerful it is, it's almost more powerful than any kind of drug you could imagine.
It is by far.
Yes,
it is by far. It is literally the essence of all creation. It is the power to manifest bliss. That is the actual current of energy that runs through the sexual organs. And I'm going to add here I think that's super important. And if you are listening, this is a good time for you to pause and forward this link to a friend, grab a pen and some paper, or pull up your phone and your calendar and then just take some notes for tomorrow to read them. But I want to really be clear here. When we speak of the sexual energy and the sparkly vibration that comes through that, and we speak of sexual organs, the first sexual organ to address is your skin. You and I were talking about that, and hair. Hair is an extension of our nervous system. Mm-hmm. So when we speak about practices that are related to sexual practices by yourself or in partnership, just rubbing someone's skin or caressing someone's hair is already leading towards that ease of pain, of inflammation, of anxiety. So all of those are extensions of pleasure, of relaxation that lead to well-being and eventually, obviously, the obvious parts of sexuality and the doing of it. But there's all of these peripheral, magical aspects that sometimes get overlooked.
Yes. Well, yes. Let's jump to the ending in a big hurry, right? It's like the practice, because a lot of people are not have no idea about all of the neurons that are wiring and firing to make the sex act or practices fulfilling at all. And so I would say that there's also the other big sex organ is the brain. So the brain being kind of the seat of the soul, and you're going to decide a lot of things, you feel a lot of things in the in our archontic or our archaic sort of wiring, that we trust somebody first, and that happens through this neurologically wired thing that we have between our ears. So we need to recognize that if our brain isn't functioning well also, then all the rest of that stuff is not going to work. Like touching doesn't work. If you've got a concussion, even things like those, brain injuries, post-traumatic stress. What's some other examples of neurological things? We see, people
trauma.
trauma of many
a lot of trauma, a lot of lack of trust in other individuals. And we begin to build these walls and these barriers to protect oneself from intimacy. And intimacy begins with trust, begins with allowing people in your personal space. And that leads to even just holding hands or PDA and all of that is part of how do you develop a sense of self-love with yourself so that you can extend that outwards. But if within yourself you still have guilt or shame or lack of trust towards other human beings, the pleasure and the healing benefits and the sparkly joy of the sexual energy will be quite difficult to achieve. Right? I have a lot of clients, when I started this whole thing with coaching and guiding individuals into really activating their greatness, I did not know I was going to be facing so many stories, all bringing the energy back down to sexuality.
Right.
I mean, it's such a big trigger for so many individuals in so many directions. Right. In so many, they could be really addictive in one aspect. They could be just very no and not even engaging. So every aspect in the spectrum, I've heard it and I was surprised. So that's why I'm so happy when you invited me to do a show specifically about the sparkly energy of sexuality for men and for women on how to regain that sovereignty and that force and embody it and have it run through your body, do some movement, shake your booty in the shower, just get that energy going and activate your own sense of pleasure so that you can extend that outwards to your partner.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. And I agree. It's like over the practice of my coaching career too, it's been that you go, oh, I thought I was here to talk about this, but actually what we're talking about is your relationship or the lack of in your relationship of no connection. But often it's the disconnection of the self is where that all begins. So let's talk about let's talk about some hot tips besides shaking the booty in the shower, because that's a good one. I might have to go and do that. No, I'm just kidding. Very activated. That's why I have a stand-up desk. People go, why do you have a stand-up desk? Because I'm moving all the time. And it is because it charges my energetic center. So I'm not cut off from that 𝑗ing-Qi area, which I teach also. So but let's talk about what's some things that we notice in terms of what's the most outrageous story or thing that shocked you the most around this whole sexual energy thing. Can you share a story with people just so they have some sort of frame of reference, Erika?
Yes, I'm going to leave out the really traumatic ones because there's no point of using those examples. They're so harsh and blunt. But let's just keep it. A lady in her 40s that had been married for 20 some years and never had an orgasm, for example.
Yes.
And she has sex or relations or lovemaking with her husband several times a week. And so she came to me for other reasons, and that was very wowing. I have another individual that was married 12 years and only had relations with her partner 3 times. And they came to me for other reasons. But when I start asking questions about their well-being and their headaches and their sense of issues with their belly and weight gain and loss, I mean, all of these things end up leading to this point. So I want to address those specifically because many women can relate to the fact that maybe they're not in the mood and it's not their thing, or they maybe are in the mood, but having an orgasm is difficult. So the first thing is, like you said, the brain. How do you bring your brain to really come along for that wonderful ride? Because if you're thinking about cooking or the to-do lists while you are in that moment with your partner, well, yes, it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to really embody that energy. Okay, so the first thing is the brain needs to tag along for the ride. I want to address individuals that are not in partnership. So let's start there. If you're not in partnership, how do you begin to really make peace with that energy and use it? So my favorite go-to is a bath. Just a bath, a good warm bath. And actually with Better Humans, we have these incredible bath salts that are so relaxing. They're so uplifting, but you can make your own blends. So definitely find some essential oils, some good sea salt, some Epsom salt, mix in some flowers, rosemary. Fabulous. Rosemary is a must as a muscle relaxant, and it uplifts the mind and helps create mental clarity. So a bath is really lovely because it touches and activates every part of your cell receptors on your skin, right? So you're in the water and you're getting this kind of sensation in it. So that is a beautiful activator. Touch yourself. And it does not have to be dirty and sexual in any way, but it has to be activating. It has to be in a way where you're really playing with the cell receptors on your skin to have sensation, to have pleasure. That's the whole point where you're on this planet, to have a collection of experiences and sensorial discoveries. So discover it, and then press in different parts of the body. Discover tension. Ooh, why is it tender here? Wow, I didn't know this part of my belly hurt. I didn't know the part of my breasts were sore. Why? So I think that's my first step is to take a bath or a warm shower and really just touch yourself and discover how your body feels in certain aspects. You have to know yourself before you can guide a partner.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I'd like to build on a little bit by just inviting people to also take the opportunity to get your space created before you get in the tub. So if you've got little kids, ask your partner or get a babysitter or whatever you need to do. If you're single, create the space so you can take a half hour, 45 minutes or whatever it is, 10 good solid minutes of non-interrupted time for yourself, where people aren't knocking on the door and wanting to come in and, interrupting all of that, because it is, it's startling, like to be naked in a tub. And I've had this experience myself, and I know my girlfriends and, grandma friends go, oh my gosh, it's like every time I go to get in the tub, it's like somebody's at the door going,
I need you.
We're just walking in. Like somebody picked the lock, they're just walking in. I'm like, oh my gosh, what? So there's no relaxation. It's just all, I'm going to get in the tub. It's going to be like as fast as I can. And please, nobody flush the toilet, because
the water gets all messed up. Yes,
it does get all messed up. It does. So really think about how can you create this most perfect atmosphere for yourself, because it's like from the space of the most positive regard for yourself. How do you actually create that space so that it's not interrupted, that it's really comfortable, that it's just the right temperature for you? So have it nice and warm, or if it's cooler, whatever works, but make sure that it's a really good temperature for you. And then take the time to have some nice deep breaths while you're in the tub too. So as you're sort of getting in there and you're smelling all your beautiful oils, inhale a nice deep breath and then exhale and notice yourself. So notice yourself and bring yourself into reverence for yourself. And then adding on to Erika's, touching your body, feeling all yourself, noticing about yourself and your glorious physical being. And so thank you, Erika. I just really, that's one of my favorite things too. And that creating that space sometimes can be a real challenge, but it's absolutely worth it.
If you want a very simple tip as an herbalist here, so I'm a master herbalist and plants are my girls. But if you want a very inexpensive tip, and one of my favorites, you take an orange, slice it, and toss those slices in your tub. And if you're having a hard time touching yourself without anything, it just kind of feels weird to you, totally understand it. Then now you have a slice of orange. And then the purpose is to make sure that your entire body is hydrated with that vitamin C. So that's a beautiful way of just make sure that you circle through the body and hydrate it.
Right. I feel more sparkly just you talking about it. Oranges, citrus, I can smell it. You know, when you think orange or cut into an orange, you can smell it, you can taste it. It's like, oh, so juicy and yummy and awesome. So,
well, that should be in your tub. Love it. Next tip.
Yes, next tip. You get out of the tub, and what's next?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
So
she doesn't know anything about what she's talking about. Miss
Cacao, chocolate. That is when we think of sexuality, one of the go-tos of the tales of all ages and all times is chocolate, and the aphrodisiac benefits of cacao itself, and the uplifting and invigorating benefits. Also because it triggers dopamine, and females, we naturally gravitate in our moon time towards eating a little piece of chocolate. Yes, it triggers dopamine. It's an anti-inflammatory. It has lots of magnesium, tons of minerals. So adding some chocolate to your daily routines or weekly routines is definitely a go-to. Please make sure it's at least 75% cacao. So if you're eating chocolate, make sure it has at least 60 to 75% of raw cacao. If not, you will have pleasure, but you will not have these health benefits that I'm speaking of. Okay, you need a little more humph for that. So making your own hot chocolate with raw cacao and then adding some cayenne or some cloves or cinnamon. One of my favorite recipes, actually, when I am in my moon time, since we're kind of speaking of these female energies and sexuality, we have to make peace with our cycles and our seasons in life. So my recipe there is I make an infusion with roses. So a rose tea, pretty much, a rose infusion. And I use that water to melt in it the wafers of my cacao liqueur or my chocolate, my cacao itself, and I mix it in the hot water of that rose infusion. So I'm really using the benefits of roses, which are such emotionally uplifting and soothing, with the benefits of the cacao to make an emotional beverage that is just divine. It is just absolutely godly.
And so with that, Erika, do you, I know you've talked about with me behind the scenes, sort of your secret awesome sauce for ceremonial cacao. Is that slightly different? Like when would somebody apply that? Or do you practice?
So for example, here I have these. So these are cacao wafers. Okay.
For those people who are, just for those people who are only tuning into the podcast.
Oh, yes.
Please come to the masteryourlife.ca website so you can watch the video version of the podcast so you can actually see what the cacao looks like, and some of the other goodies that we have and that we're sharing. So again, come to the masteryourlife.ca website. All right, Erika, take it away.
So cacao, this is 100% cacao, not 50, 60, 70. No, this is 100%. It means there's nothing else mixed to it. So this is going to be quite bitter. Now, if you want to have just an enjoyable experience with just a regular hot chocolate that you can serve to the kids and grandma, then that would be about 10 grams of cacao. But you can have a ceremonial experience with at least 25 to 30 grams of cacao in about 4 to 6 ounces of water. And so that's going to be a very concentrated beverage, very thick, syrupy almost beverage, which was considered the food of the gods. This is what the Incans and the Aztecs used to drink back then. So that has a really powerful punch to your emotional system. It just activates circulation, opens up the pineal gland, really activates dopamine and your happy hormones in the body, and allows you to enter this ceremonial, sacred space that is incredibly sensorial, not just in your mind, but in your body. And that's why these beverages were actually served before meditation or in ceremonies or in sexual rituals that you would do with your own partner. These are not, okay, don't imagine that we're in like caves in some dark tunnels doing weird things. No, a ceremonial ritual with your partner for Valentine's, like for your anniversary, something beautiful that is very unifying. Then you need to up the dose from your regular chocolate, which would be 8 to 10 grams, to a ceremonial doses that will be 20 plus grams. Please, no more than 50 grams in one day. That is too much and your body cannot handle it. Okay. So just keep it about 20 to 30 grams.
Yeah, I love this. It is a sacred practice. And I would just encourage everybody to give yourself the gift of it's like a self-experimentation. It's so much fun, right? And just having enough reverence for yourself and your physical body to go, what could actually make me feel sparkly, tingly, more alive, more in love with myself, more in love with my partner if I'm doing that ceremony with them, because you deserve it. The world deserves more happy people, more sexually satisfied people, because that is, again, how we create harmony and create in the world. So you give yourself the gift of this thing. And we were talking about gifting on another episode. So it's just like this, it's like the gift of cacao could be that you would give to yourself or somebody that you love. And not just on Valentine's Day, but, you know, the really a gift that you would give to yourself. Maybe how often should a person do this ceremonial chocolate?
This is awesome. I'm going to send you some, and I would love to hear your feedback on it. As often as, definitely, just please make sure that you get ceremonial grade or that you make 100% pure. Okay. Milk chocolate has a different place, a different time, a different purpose, but it is not what I'm speaking about when we really want to activate those inner energies within the body. You do need to have some really pure, organic, high grade cacao. So yes, you can do it every day. I actually do once a week a very respectful practice of ceremonial cacao where I drink my cacao with lots of reverence and lots of intention. And then I have a journal next to me and I meditate on a particular intention that I have and just kind of do my meditation. And afterwards, as I come out of it, maybe after 20 minutes or so, then I write in my journal what kind of came through.
Yes, I love this. And I see how it parallels, like in the Qigong practice that I do, we do tea ceremonies. So it's like very ceremonial, very reverent. And then of course, like going the internal check-in to go, how are things going or what came out of that for me and the writing down of things so that you can just have reverence for the moment, really stopping time almost, right? And capturing the stop and the relaxation into what's happening.
Let me speak to that, because if you don't like chocolate, okay, and you're like, great, Erika, now I'm stuck because you're talking about all these great benefits and I don't even like the thing. So, hey, totally okay. You just mentioned tea. So one of the beautiful tea options that would be parallel or comparable to the ceremonial grade cacao would be a pu'er.
Yes. That's one we use.
And a pu'er. Okay, great. Yes. See? So a pu'er has these incredible benefits. And actually, after a few cups, you will be tea high. Like you get this kind of like buzz of, whoa. So yes, pu'er, if you're a tea drinker, would be the go-to for sacred purposes.
Love it. Love it. And again, it's like sparkling energy. So when we said at the beginning of the episode, this is about sparkling energy, and it's so pure, and we create it through creating these moods. We're so powerful, right? It's just, again, it's a marvel. I marvel at our incredible selves, and that we just through talking about having this really sacred space, that it's elevating for people and elevating that just the whole chi, the whole energy, prana, life force. So to your point about moon cycles, maybe we could talk a little bit about that from your perspective. How much influence does that have, and what kind of hot intel can you share?
Hot intel. I love that. I want to go back to the sacredness of being a woman. Yeah. And the sacredness for the men that are listening of having a woman in your life. It could be a mom, a partner, a daughter, just a coworker, right? Someone that has that carries that potential of giving life, of transmuting and transforming energies. We've lost the reverence of that gift, of that power. And women have lost their own sense of reality with it because of birth control, because of work, because of equality in the workplace, because of all these other reasons that slowly have put us completely out of touch with our cycles, with our moon cycle. And I want to address that there's some seasons in that, right? We have in life, as a female, you have your childhood years, then your maiden years, the mother years, and then the crones. So you have these 4 very clearly marked seasons that have to be acknowledged because food, taste buds, activities have to be in sync with the hormonal influx of that season. Okay, so you have these 4 seasons. The year, which is our Mama Gaia, our Pachamama, our mother planet Earth, also has 4 seasons, right? We have the winter, the spring, the summer, the fall. So within our monthly within our monthly cycles, women, we also have 4 seasons. Yes. So if you are regular with your cycle, you have your cycle maybe every 28 days or so, you do have 4 weeks. And so I invite women to really begin to reclaim those seasons and understand how their body and their taste buds and their moods are going to change within 1 month. Every week is going to be different. Guys, are you listening to this? Like, women, please just pause for a second. And men, if you are the boss and you have women working for you, with you, every woman in her cycle within 1 month changes her mood, her taste buds with each week. So I'll give you an example. You have your winter, you have your spring, you have your summer, you have your fall. And for some women, it might be different, okay? I want to speak for myself in this case, because maybe that will be useful. So when I am on my period, I'm in my 40s. So when I'm in my period, I feel that week is my winter week. Like, I just want to retreat. I want a hot chocolate. I want a blanket, a book. My energy is very intuitive. I'm creative, but I am mentally slow. Like, it's harder for me to type an email, to be on point too. And that's kind of my winter. I don't feel as social as I would, and I just have less energy, and I enter the space of I want to nest and I want to clean. So,
a little hibernation.
Yes. There, totally. Okay. So maybe for you, it's not your week during your period. Maybe it's a different week, but you have to identify when you have your winter. Then I finish my period and I enter the space that I call my spring. And girl, I swear, literally my period ends and I have all these ideas and I have all this energy and I want to go do all these things. And I call my friends and I book myself packed that week. And I have so much energy that the week after is booked and packed. That's going to be my summer. Totally works.
Yes.
Totally works. Absolute
energy.
Fire energy. Yeah. Yes. I'm a doer. I am unstoppable. I feel like I'm glowing. Yes. But because you feel so vibrant, this is what happens. You feel so vibrant and you book yourself for all these events and all these things without keeping in mind that you're booking yourself for your winter week.
Right. Yes.
where literally the winter week comes and you go, shoot, oh no, why did I book this dinner? Why did I book this event? Oh my God, I have to be on stage all day. Wow, why did I commit to this? Literally on my winter week. So I want to invite you. This sounds funny, but it is like that. Mm-hmm. To identify within your cycle where you're at. And I know if you're taking birth control, maybe you're breezing through these and you're not really in touch. Please regain control of that. Pay attention how you feel with the moon and where your taste buds are at in the month. And it's so beautiful because when you're open about it and you talk about it with your partner, now my husband asked like, oh, we have this dinner. And he literally asked, where are you going to be on your cycle? And should we move it a week? So I thought that's so considerate and so lovely because now you're really always at your best. You're always being able to deliver that sparkly energy, which is in line with your own sexuality to be able to deliver when you can. Mm-hmm. Now, my summer week, oh, this sexy time, girl. All the sexy outfits and all the sexy playful toys. Oh, yes. So I make sure that when I am in that energy, I deliver and I play with it and I indulge and I love it. And then he knows that might just kind of fade off and then it will spark up again. Yeah. Yes. Which is very empowering. And I think too, to what we talked about at the very beginning of the episode is boundaries. You know, having boundaries and being able to express that within the context of cycles. Mm-hmm. And just going, okay, well, this is actually what's going on. It's not because I'm miserable. It's not because I've got some fundamental flaw. It's because there's actually stuff going on. And the moon cycles are based on astrology. So moon is not like some sort of, like just something that a person came up with out of the nothingness. If we actually look up at the sky, we can see these cycles happen and we can watch the moon and we can really relate to it then and go, oh, there you are. And there's what's going on. Oh, yes, I can see how that's influencing me. And it's, I think that we're seeing more and more evidence that it is throughout the span of a woman's life that even though your period can stop, you still are influenced by the moon, and men are as well. But we're just talking and specifically about this in particular with women and how men can be supportive around that. Even employers, you know. Please, employers, if you're listening and you're an employer, female or male, just understand that women are going to go through these cycles. And I would even go as far as if you have tasks that you can go ahead and plan 2 weeks in advance, then you can tell your employees, hey, I need this done by this date. And allow them to kind of work with their cycle on days where they're feeling super productive and some other days where they're just not inspired. Mm-hmm. So there's just no creativity. You can't come up with any ideas. I love to cook. We've talked about that many times. I love to cook. When I'm on my day 2 of my cycle, it's literally like I have brain fog. Like I forget what step goes after what. And did I already put that ingredient or not? Or did I call this person? Like it's literally entering a foggy space. But I get a lot of laundry done and a lot of cleaning, very tactical things that just don't require a lot of my brain power.
That's right. I get a lot of research done. It's like, okay, time to research. But I love that. So, and it's forgiving too, right? When people start to understand, okay, this is actually how I'm wired, how I would be more sexual and be more communicative with my partner is I can actually look at my own cycles and say, hey, sweetheart, here's what's going on. And I know we've never talked about it before, but why don't we start talking about it now so that we can improve my physical health and well-being and yours and our connection and our relationship, and thereby bringing that creative energy together, which is even better when it's 2.
Or send them to masteryourlife.ca. Let's have them listen to this episode. And if you feel like you can't communicate all of this, just listen to it. Mark down the minute that you want them to listen to. Just listen to this part. It's so important.
Exactly. So we've only got a couple of minutes left, Erika. I want to point out too that if people are interested in the Taoist sexual practices, that you can actually get that on the masteryourlife.ca website under Lee Holden. And Lee Holden is my master. His master is Mantak Chia. Mantak was on the cutting edge of teaching sexual health in the US and Canada and China for now. I think he is about 70 years old. So he's been doing it a very long time. One of the first guys to come over here and teach sexual energy. He's very funny, and you can look him up online, but you can get this Taoist sexual practices from Lee Holden as a course,
nice.
a 3-hour course on the masteryourlife.ca, because he's excellent. And I want people to restore that Jing Qi. And it's a very, very empowering process to do that for yourself first. So Erika, how about final words or thoughts or practices that you would like to put out there for people in the last minute or so?
I think it's important to honor your season.
Mm-hmm.
Honor childhood, maiden, mother, crone, and honor where you're at in your season within the year and within your monthly cycle. And it's okay for you to change your taste buds, change the books you want to read or series on TV you want to watch, and be in sync with what your body is needing at the time.
Such wise words. I love it. Yes, because we have this expectation of just trying to be the same all the time, and it's not the truth. There we have the ebbs and flows. So love yourself for the ebbs and flows. Love your sisters for their ebbs and flows. Start looking at ways to be compassionate with one another and to support and uplift each other with crazy things like bath salts and cacao, which are just so divine and gorgeous. Thank you so much, Erika, for being just a wonderful guest and such a shining example of, upliftment and fun and playfulness.
Thank you,
and
Queen.
Sexual, moi, moi, moi. So when I say today, love yourselves, you know what I mean.
In all senses.
In all senses. So love yourselves, love each other, mind your minds. That's all for us. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for being a part of our program today. Master Your Life is a presentation of Leaha Mattinson Enterprises, Inc. Join us next time on Master Your Life, helping you to discover the very best of you.